me your answer too. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage. Hello, Cubanwriter here with my wife, Darkling Faye.
Hello.
And I'd like to take you on a trip back in time to the early 90s when television for kids and teenagers was filled with some remarkable shows. There was Darkwing Duck, a whimsical take on a Batman wannabe. And then there was Batman the Animated Series, an actual Batman show that you actually want to watch because it was that good. Voice acting was incredible. The art was incredible. The stories were incredible. Not all of them, but enough of them to matter.
Is that what we're going to talk about now?
No, we're going to talk about another show that was also on in the early 90s. A show I hated as a youth. Power Rangers. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. A show that was made on a budget of about $1.95. Featuring some of the worst acting and worst stories and repetitive stories that the world has ever seen. And now, in the year 2017, they have decided to reboot the Power Rangers as a movie. It's not the first movie in the Power Rangers series, but it is the latest. And I was looking forward to going to the theater with my wife to make fun of this horrible piece of garbage that was being produced.
I, unlike you, never watched the Power Rangers, so I didn't know anything about them going into it. I had given you the option of two movies, and you picked this one, so that's why we went. Yay!
What was the other movie?
Chips.
We're seeing that tomorrow, so really, we're watching both of the terrible movies that she offered me. But let me say that I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah?
Yeah, the first half of this movie in particular was well acted. I mean, as much as you could expect. It had interesting cinematography. The story was entertaining to watch. The characters were relatively well developed. It was like I was in Bizarro World, watching the opposite of what the Power Rangers were supposed to be.
Well, I don't know if this sticks to any of the actual canon of the cartoon. Was it a cartoon or was it an...
No, it was, unfortunately, it was live action. And by the way, the people, the kids that were in the show, they were just the worst, and the acting was the worst, and the stories.
In the TV show, you mean?
Yeah, in the TV show. But in this movie, they actually picked kids who can sort of act, and they gave them little character backstories that were sort of interesting.
I will have to say, if you're going to this movie to look for action, it's probably not the movie for you, because the majority of the movie, I would say, is character development. It's not necessarily an action-packed movie. You're not going to be like seeing one action scene after another after another. A good majority of the film really is about developing the different characters of the Power Rangers.
And thank goodness, because that was the best half of the film. The origin story that the film starts with was the part that I really liked watching.
I would actually say 3/4 of the film is really about character development. The last quarter really is an action scene. The rest of it really is just them developing and, I guess, learning how to be a team. Hope that's not a spoiler, people. But no, I do have to say they're relatively unknown actors. The ones who play the Power Rangers are really relatively unknown. I haven't heard or seen of them do anything in the past, and I thought they did a really good job. I actually enjoyed it.
They did do a good job. It was strange to watch it and actually find myself enjoying parts of it and thinking, this isn't so bad. I don't know what I expected to find, but it wasn't this.
No, I had a good time. I thought it was an entertaining movie done pretty decently. I do have to say I liked the little robot. Alpha? Is that his name?
I think you have a thing for little robots.
I do have a thing for little droids. I was like, oh, I want one. I can go with my BB-8 and other little droid collection.
Now, I do think we should talk about some of the things we didn't like about the movie, but in order to do that, we'll have to enter spoiler territory. Warning, spoilers ahead. Aye, matey. Is that weird?
Yeah, it was creepy.
Okay. Well, now that you have all stopped the video, if you haven't seen the film, or continued watching the video if you just don't give a crap, we can talk about the things we didn't like.
Okay, so the thing that I did not enjoy and that didn't make sense to me is that, and this really is a spoiler, so just know going into it, hopefully you've seen the movie already. When Billy, who I actually have to say is one of my favorite Rangers, I really liked his character. I thought they developed him really well. He was a character you really felt like you really emotionally got attached to him.
Mm.
I liked his personality. He's kind of quirky, kind of nerdy. I totally understood him. I do have to say, I think maybe movies are now becoming a little focused on like autism. So of course he had to be on the spectrum. So I thought that was, that I didn't enjoy so much.
I did feel
Not
like
that I don't, I don't have things against autism. I just feel like it's like the trend.
I feel like they had a
being-
checklist of diversity,
Yeah.
and they're like, black kid, autistic kid, 2 for 1, cha-ching! But
Yeah.
anyway.
Sometimes being too politically correct. But I liked his character a lot. What I didn't enjoy so much is when he drowns. And then the rest of the team is like, oh no, Billy drowned. And they all just like stand around and look at him. And nobody tries CPR. Nobody tries anything. They're just like, he's dead. What? Like, you're not going to try anything? You're just like going to announce he's dead? Like, I don't know. Wouldn't you like call 911 or Google CPR for Pete's sakes, people?
Or, try anything other than just assuming he's dead, staring at him, and doing nothing at all to help him.
I understood what the movie wanted to do. I just felt the way that they particularly did that wasn't very logical. It didn't make any sense. Even if you're going to panic and that type of thing, you're not just going to look at someone and say, oh, he's dead, and then cry a little. Like, you really would try something. Even if you don't know what, you would still try something.
I wish instead of drowning him in that scene, for which, by the way, I can't imagine getting 5 people together and none of them even having seen CPR performed before. Because it's a central theme in so many TV shows. You go, oh, I've seen this. I'm going to try and save you, Billy, right? So instead of giving him asphyxiation on water or whatever, I wish they had given him an injury, a bleeding wound, for which they would have felt completely unprepared to handle. And that would have made more sense to me.
Even if he's gonna drown, like if you're not gonna have him try anything, it didn't feel real. Like at that moment, and I didn't feel Billy was dead, and I didn't feel like he was in danger. So that was my one that was one of my criticisms, because I did like the character. I would have liked to have felt like that more emotional tug that they wanted me to have. I should have been upset when he died, so-called died. Sorry, spoiler there, guys. But the way that everyone. They don't even like check a pulse. They literally just look at him, stare at him, and are like, he's dead.
Is it bad that I kind of wished he had been dead?
Well, you like to kill characters off because you like to feel like this is part of the problem when he also game masters and games people. So just a heads up, if you're ever playing his game, he's going to try and kill your character. He likes to feel that there actually is danger. So if no of the good guys actually get hurt, if no of the good guys actually die, if no one, really has anything bad happen to them, it's not his particularly favorite thing. He wants to feel that danger is real.
Well, heroes can only be heroes if they suffer and if they experience loss. If heroes are always winning, then it's just not exciting. Now, they do make a decent attempt at making you feel like the heroes suffer some in this movie, but I never really got the feeling they could lose.
No, I always felt they were going to win at the end. But it still was that aside, I still enjoyed myself. I still would recommend the film. But that was the one thing I thought was strange. Your friend drowns and you just stand around.
I'll also say that I found most of the major combat scenes and the giant robots that they were fighting in rather unconvincing. But the first part of the film had been so good by comparison that I was willing to forgive them all the cheesy stuff that happens in the last fight, including backhanding Rita Repulsa into space.
Yeah, well, they also hinted at that, though. That was his fighting style. He likes to slap people. Isn't that odd? Or weird? Isn't it weird? So they kind of they give you that hint already in the movie, so it's not a surprise. I do have to say I liked that. The one thing that I did like about it is that they weren't already just great at fighting. You did get to see some training. They did try and develop them. The best part of the movie really is the character development. You get to see the growth of these kids. You get to see them in their awkward teenage stage that we all had to go through, and they had to really figure out who they wanted to be and what type of person they wanted to be. That really is a main theme in this. So the whole superhero Power Ranger thing aside, I thought that was really well done. And then that's when it gets weird, when you have things like Billy drowns, and the writers seem to kind of jump the shark a little bit, because it's like you did such good writing up till then. It's like you couldn't deal with this one part. But yeah, I would say that the action isn't that great, but there isn't a lot of it either. But again, I feel like it's so much action these days. There's so much choreography now, where I do feel like people are dancing, and it doesn't feel like it's an actual real fight. You don't have like a grit to it. There's not that kind of, it doesn't feel realistic.
Yeah, there's an art form to doing good fight choreography where it all feels like it's just occurring to everyone in the moment to do what they're doing. And most shows and movies don't have that anymore. You really feel like they're going through a pre-rehearsed sequence of maneuvers. Plus, a lot of the opponents in this are CGI anyway, so they weren't actually fighting anyone, probably.
What? It wasn't a real gold monster? How dare you tell me that?
But as much as I didn't quite enjoy the big climactic battle, I think this can be completely recommended on the basis of the fact that for most of the film, it's actually a pretty good film.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a good film. I would recommend it. I didn't like their power suits or their morphine suits. I did have a problem with the armor, but that's just me, because
I know you felt like they were overemphasizing the woman's breasts.
Yeah,
but I feel like the only difference was that some of them had breasts and some of them didn't. I didn't see that there was anything done differently in the design for men and female
I just
outfits.
have a problem with a lot of armor. It's just from my video gaming and role-playing days, where the women always get armor that doesn't make sense with what the men get. They have the same suit of armor, and that on the women it's all skimpy and weird, and like, here are my boobs, and on the men it looks like actual armor that would protect you. And I did feel like my problem was that the women's chests were way overemphasized, but other than that, I mean, it's a minor thing that I put up with. I would still recommend the movie. I would still go see it. I thought it was good. I actually would be interested to see what, I hope that these actors actually do get a good career. I'd like to see them do some other stuff. That's our dog, by the way, Miranda. But I'd be interested to see them do more. I wonder, are they going to make another one? Do you think that there's going to be a...
Now, there was
if it's
hardly...
popular, you think?
Yeah, there was hardly anyone in our theater, but we went to a theater where... Thank you, dog. We went to a theater where mostly adults were in attendance, so I understand why it was mostly empty, because it's mostly a kid thing or a nostalgia thing. And I really don't think there were enough adults who were nostalgic about this property to go see it. But I do think there's probably a lot of young people today who would be willing to see it. And I think it'll be a success on that basis, and the fact that it doesn't completely suck.
I'd be interested in seeing a sequel.
Me too. That is the biggest recommendation I can give this, is I would watch a sequel. And with that, I think I will go ahead and sign off.
Goodbye, darling.
See you all next time.
But you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. I'm half crazy, all for the love